Tamara,
Hi.
thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Nutritionist specialising in endurance sport. You've done UTA 4 times.
Yes.
Nutrition is definitely the most confusing part of ultra marathons. Also, probably the most important, you would say.
Absolutely, other than training.
Obviously,
yes.
training, yeah.
But you have to get the nutrition right. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how much training you've done or how strong your mindset is.
Yeah.
If you get the nutrition wrong, you won't be finishing the race.
Yeah, definitely. So today we're just going to chat, I guess, all things nutrition with UTA in mind,
Yep.
in the lead up, during, a few other bits and pieces as well. I guess the best place to start is, why do we need to fuel?
So the fueling during an endurance event, and when I'm talking endurance, I'm thinking anything over 2 hours. The way your body works is you have stored glycogen or stored carbohydrates, which is in your muscles and in your liver, and then we have fat that we use as fuel as well. So your body's always using 2 sources of fuel.
Yeah.
And even very, very lean runners still have enough fat on them to last for days. Yeah. But the stored fuel or the stored glycogen only lasts about 2 hours for most people. Some really experienced endurance runners might last 3 or 4 hours because they're better at utilising that glycogen.
Does that come with conditioning?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, a little bit of it's genetic as well. But essentially then what is happening in your body when you're fueling, you've got the stored glycogen is allowing your body to use your fat stores. So the fat oxidizes, and the only way that you can oxidize fat is by getting in some oxygen via a carbohydrate.
Yeah.
So the fueling that we're talking about is topping up that stored glycogen with extra carbohydrates, if you like.
Yeah.
So putting carbohydrates into your body so that you can continue burning your fats.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Now, carbohydrates, for a lot of people new to running, it seems like it's not what you want. Everyone's always focused protein in particular. Carbs obviously helps us burn that fat.
Yes.
Protein and fats as well. What do we look at with that stuff?
Yeah, so when you're actually out there in your race, you only want to put primarily carbohydrates back in to allow your body to burn that fat.
Yep.
So a really good analogy that I like to use with my clients is looking at a candle that's got, the candle is the fat, and then you've got a wick in the candle, and the wick is the carbohydrates. So you need to keep topping up those carbohydrates in order to burn your fat. You don't really need any protein or fat coming in to your body. You've got enough in there already. You really only want to put in carbohydrates. The only exception to that is on really long, so maybe people doing the 100K, a little bit of protein can be of benefit and a little bit of fat, but you certainly don't go looking for it. You don't kind of predominantly eat that. It comes rolled in with other sources of carbohydrate. So you don't want to be putting down protein shakes or protein bars or nuts and seeds and things like that. You're just going to cause gastric issues.
It's just going to come back up.
Absolutely, you want carbohydrates, and a lot of people get confused and they kind of I don't want carbohydrates or I don't want sugar. Yeah. But that's what your body needs to get you through an endurance event. And if you don't like the processed kind of gels and sports drinks and things like that, you can absolutely use real food. There's no problem with that. So, but you'd be looking at things like fruit, particularly bananas, because they're low in fibre. Potatoes are low in fibre. White bread sandwiches with honey or Vegemite. So dates are really good as well. So you can absolutely use food to fuel you, and as long as it's mostly carbohydrate again, not protein-based food.
And an obvious question, we don't want fibre because go to the bathroom.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
we don't want
fibre
that.
makes you need to go to the loo, and most people don't want to do that during an endurance event. But the other thing also, Seb, is that one of the reasons that we have fibre in our diet generally, definitely to do with elimination, but also fibre slows down the digestion of your carbohydrate. And when you're at your desk at work or just general life, you want that. You want your carbs to go slow into your body because it makes you feel fuller for longer and it balances out your blood sugar levels. Okay. But in a race, you actually want to absorb the carbohydrate quite quickly to get it into your bloodstream because you're burning. That's the process. You want to keep burning that fat. You want the carbs into your bloodstream. without too much distraction from fibre.
Yeah. So the whole, you know, in the lead up to your race, you can be very mindset of keeping those simple carbs at bay.
Yep.
But during running and during this endurance running, simple carbs,
Correct.
sugars,
Yes.
and that's the winner.
And that's it's quite tricky because people often take up running because they're a healthier lifestyle and they want to eat well and they change their diet, you know, for the better.
Yeah.
But then you get to race day, the rules change. The rules go out the window. So, you know, as a nutrition, I'm qualified in naturopathic nutrition. I'm always encouraging people to eat whole grains and fibre and, you know, balanced meals. But you don't want that on race day, and it is quite a hard thing to get your head around. Yeah. But on race day, you want simple carbohydrates like white bread, crumpets for breakfast, pikelets, those types of things. But you can do it with fruit as well. Just be a little bit careful. But yes, it is a bit confusing for people.
And with fruit being careful, do you want to elaborate a bit?
It depends on the type of fruit. So I would be going for lower fibre fruits like banana and grapes.
Okay.
Watermelon for some people, but again, like you wouldn't. It actually depends, Seb, on the runner more so than potentially the fruit.
Okay.
It's not really the fruit's problem. It's actually how well accustomed the person is to eating that type of food. And also the other really important thing is, I'm talking very generally here, but as you know, people who do UTA, the guys and girls, people at the front are going to be doing 9, 10, 11 hours. Yep. The people at the back are out there for 24 to 28 hours. Yep. That's very different in terms of how they're going to fuel. So generally speaking, the slower you're running, the more able you are to absorb carbohydrates or food. So you might be more capable of having sort of more fruit and real foods, whereas if you're at the front of the pack and you're absolutely pushing the pace, your heart rate's going to be elevated, your nervous system's going to be working quite hard. So what then happens is the digestive system is compromised. You don't get much blood flow to the gut. Not a priority for your body at all. The body's priority is your legs, your heart, your lungs. And so it becomes very hard to digest food. So those people will tend to stick to liquid fuels or things like gels or very simple bars, maybe the chewy blocks, that type of thing. The more simple, the better for the faster runners.
Okay, so the liquid fuel, I guess that kind of leads into the next most important part being hydration. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, so we talked about the carbohydrate load that you need. And just before we move off that, just in terms of a guideline for people, anything over 2 hours, the guidelines are 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrate per hour is what you need. That's very broad, but it depends on the person and you have to practice. The longer you're running, the more carbs per hour you need.
Okay.
So if you're doing a 10-hour event, you're going to need more like 40, 50, 60 grams of carb per hour.
Okay.
Even up to 90 grams of carbs per hour is kind of the maximum that the research has shown.
Is that dependent on the athlete?
Person, yes.
Like weight, speed?
Not so much weight. It depends on the person's ability to be able to absorb the carbohydrate, which is trainable. So if you're, at the elite end of the scale, they will practice their fueling. They will practice absorbing carbohydrates to get as much in as possible, because the more you get in, the faster you can go.
Okay.
So think of that candle again.
Yeah.
The candle's burning faster, so you want more carbohydrate to burn it. Yeah. And so they would be pushing, like the people at the front of the pack, or even road marathoners, they're pushing 70, 80, 90 grams per hour. Guys in Tour de France, cycling, they're doing up to 120 grams an hour. So it's a lot of carbohydrate that you're pushing in. People that are at the back of the pack don't need that much because it's a slower burn. Yeah. But yes, it does vary a lot. But if someone's new to the sport and they're kind of going, oh my gosh, what is she talking about? Where do I start? My starting point for people new would be 50 grams of carb per hour. Okay. You can go down kind of to 30, or you could bump that up to 70 depending on how you go. And if the way you work that out is read your packets. Yeah. So look at the back of gels and sports drinks or bars, see how many grams of carbs are in there. You can also then Google things like how many carbs in a banana, how many carbs in a white bread sandwich. So you just kind of figure out what you're doing, and the good starting point would be 50 grams an hour for anything kind of over 3 hours.
Yep.
That would be a good place
And
to start.
the 4 calories, 1 carb.
Yes, so
you'll
times it by 4 to get
So
calories.
depending on the nutrition, it might say calories, it might say carbs.
It'll pretty much always say carbs
Okay.
as well. So yes, like if you look, let's just take a gel because it's a simple example. If it says 25 grams of carb, that's 100 calories.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit different in things like bars because bars will have a tiny amount of protein and fat in there, which is fine.
Yep.
But the calories will be greater than 4 times the carbs
Okay.
because you've got the protein and
Yeah,
fat
yeah.
as well. So I always look at the carbs amount because that's what we're interested in
Yeah.
fueling you.
Yeah.
The other stuff is fine a little bit, but it doesn't really help on the day.
Liquid fuel?
Yep, so sports drinks are always made up in 6 to 8% solution. That's standard practice. And the reason that is because they know that's how they absorb best into the body. And this is a really good kind of point moving on to hydration now. If you're putting in carbohydrates, you need to have the right amount of water to get those carbs to digest. So if you're only using a sports drink that's made up by the manufacturer, it will work fine because they know what they're doing. They spend a lot of time doing research on this stuff. But let's say you decide you're going to use a sports drink of some description, and then to top up those carbs or calories, you might add a gel in as well to kind of get to your 50 grams. You have to add some water in as well. Otherwise, the concentration of carbohydrate in the gut is too much and you'll feel really sick. And probably one of the biggest reasons people come to see me is that they feel sick when they're doing their training and they tell me, I can't tolerate gels. Gels are horrible. It's often not the gel's fault. It's the user's fault because they haven't actually drunk enough water to get the gel to digest.
Yeah.
So a really good rule is about 10%. So if you've taken a gel that's 25 grams of carbohydrate, to make it in a 10% solution, you need 250 mils of water to get that gel to digest. Yep. So then your hydration, you need to think about how much carbs you're having and how much water you need to get them to digest, and just use 10% as a good guideline.
If we go into that 10% solution or 8% solution, how much of that counts towards your hydration versus
all of it?
All of it.
All of it.
So it's not being used to absorb carbs?
No, all of it counts, yes.
Okay.
All of it. So so you can kind of get half your hydration from a sports drink if you like, if that's a strategy that you want to use. The next thing that you need to think about with your hydration is then how much you're sweating. So it's called your sweat rate. And again, if you really want to get serious about your running, you should do a couple of tests to figure out. You just do them at home by yourself. You just weigh yourself pre and post a run and work it out over an hourly kind of amount. Sans clothing, because you carry a lot of sweat on your clothes, even to kind of towel yourself off if you're a big sweater, and then weigh yourself pre and post to figure out how much you sweat. The guidelines on hydration, based on averages again, is anywhere from kind of 500 up to 850 mils per hour. That most people would fit into that amount. Generally, the bigger the person, the more they sweat, but that's not always true either. Some smaller build people do actually sweat quite a lot. So I generally give people the guideline of kind of 650 to 700 if they're not sure, and that's certainly not overhydrating, so there's no risk of hyponatremia in that kind of ratio. Hyponatremia is a state where you have too much water on board and not enough sodium, so you're overhydrating, which can be a problem in very long races for people. Which is the next thing that we're going to talk about, which is your electrolytes or your sodium. So it's the kind of last consideration. So I always think of fueling for an event as 3 things: your fuel or carbohydrates, your hydration, and then your electrolytes, sodium. They're kind of the same thing. Slight difference, but anything over about 5 or 6 hours, most people should be thinking about taking on board extra sodium, so that they can absorb the water properly.
Is there any downside to having it within that 5 hours?
Not really, no. As long as you're not silly and have too much. But most sodium replacement products, they're generally chewable tablets or a capsule. They're generally only 100, maybe 200 milligrams of sodium per capsule, which is not very much. So I have seen some people that need 800 milligrams per hour for a race. So that's a
Wow.
lot.
Yeah.
That's the high end. So if you're not sure, it doesn't really hurt to have 1 or 2 cups an hour just to make sure that you're going to then absorb your water properly and decrease that risk of hyponatremia, which people are concerned about. It's been talked about a lot. And the event
Definitely,
organisers talk about it.
Yeah, it's definitely become, I think, something more people are aware of.
Absolutely.
Lately,
And some people call it like drink to thirst rather than overhydrating. Drink to thirst would still mean you're having 650 to 850-ish, around that kind of per hour.
Yeah.
Where you're going to get into trouble is if you're doing like 1.5 litres an hour, like a lot. You need, I think there was some research done on it in South Africa a little while ago. Hyponatremia occurred if the athlete, I think it was 1.2 litres over 4 hours, so 1.2 every hour for 4 hours, then they became a risk of hyponatremia.
Okay.
So that's a lot of water.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Most people would even be able to carry that.
No, most people wouldn't be able to even get that in. So it is more of an issue for people who are a little bit inexperienced and nervous, and they're paranoid about dehydration. And also more people at the back of the pack, because they're generally a slower, or the back of the pack, they are a slower runner, so they have more time to drink. Whereas people at the front of the pack, they're running so fast, there's no way they're going to drink 1.2 litres. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the kind of guideline on sodium is, it's a bit vague, but it's anywhere from 200 milligrams up to 1,000 milligrams an hour.
Yeah.
So just pick something in the middle if you're not sure.
The one thing we get asked a lot about in regards to electrolytes anyway is magnesium. Seems to be, with particularly your newer runners or newer to the ultra scene, they're always concerned about magnesium.
Yes.
What should we be looking at with that?
Yeah, so magnesium is one of the electrolytes, and when you buy kind of the off-the-shelf products that you guys have got, the kind of salt sticks and Endurolites, they do have a small amount of magnesium in there to help with the absorption of the other electrolytes. But the main one we're interested in is sodium in a race. Having said that, I think magnesium is probably the number one supplement that I would give clients that are doing a lot of training, because magnesium is so important in your energy system. So we've got a little system called the Krebs cycle that makes our ATP, which is your energy, and it's limited by magnesium. And sadly, even if you eat a really healthy diet, it's quite hard to get enough magnesium through your diet because it's not in the soils anymore. So a lot of the food chain doesn't have as much magnesium as we would hope. And when you're training a lot for like an ultra, you're using a lot of energy, and you don't want to limit that. And if taking a magnesium supplement every day helps you make more energy, that's a massive bonus.
Especially for ultra running.
Absolutely. And then a lot of people also suffer a little bit from cramping. Magnesium is a muscle relaxant, so it can really help with those kind of leg cramps.
When we look at cramping, can sodium help with that as well, and just in that intracellular?
It can during a race. Yes, they actually still don't really know what causes cramping. There's a lot of research still being done on it, but in a lot of situations, people find if they have sodium throughout the race that they don't tend to cramp as much. And even if you do have a cramp, you can just throw a whole lot of sodium tablets in your mouth to try and get the cramp to kind of dissipate. And they think that that's a reaction with your vagus nerve, which runs through kind of the central nervous system. And there's been quite a few products launched that do that. So pickle juice type things that have come out. There's one called Cramp Fix.
Things that you hear that can't possibly be true. And then you get people implementing them.
Absolutely. So it's all to do with it's still being researched, but it's to do with the vagus nerve. There's something that it innovates the vagus nerve in a way that releases that cramp. So putting a bunch of sodium tablets in your mouth or taking one of the kind of off-the-shelf products may help. If you're someone who's doing an ultra marathon and you know that you cramp, I wouldn't go out there without something in your pocket to try and help. And carrying pickle juice is a bit annoying. But,
unless you like pickle juice.
Well, you can. Don't quite know logistically how that would work, but anyway.
It's funny that you think, like, I go back 10 years and everyone's telling you carbs are terrible, sodium's terrible, but when we jump into this ultra world, flip that on its head. But necessities.
It is because the messaging that carbs are terrible and sodium's terrible is for the general population, and anyone who's doing an ultra knows that they're not part of the general population because most of your work colleagues and your friends think you're mad. So you're clearly not normal.
Yeah.
So that messaging of carbs and sodium is a very general population message, and it's not a bad one for the general population, but it certainly does not apply
it's definitely something
to ultra athletes.
No, it's something we see, particularly with new people new to running, and trying to explain to them that, okay, yes, these are simple carbs and there's sodium, but this is going to benefit you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
confusing.
Yeah.
It's a confusing message.
It's lucky we have people like you around.
Yeah. And most people are quite happy when I tell them that they're allowed to have some carbohydrates. Like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
that's exciting.
Yeah.
Carbs are your fuel. So even in your training, with your training sessions, you need to be fueling with carbohydrate for your training sessions. So part of training is actually training your body to absorb the nutrition. You can't just go out on race day and for the first time open up a gel and give it a whirl. You might be really lucky and you'll be fine, but most people need to practice that, and you definitely don't want it to ruin your race.
No.
So you want to know exactly what you're having and that it sits in your tummy okay and doesn't make you feel sick or make you need to go to the bathroom, so that you can enjoy your race as much as possible. So I think it's really important to understand that training is not just about miles in your legs. It's actually also training your nutrition and practicing your nutrition so that you know. And that also means fueling your training. So anyone doing ultras, you're already doing 2, 3, 4, 5 hour, maybe not 5 hour runs. Most coaches limit you to 4, but you should be fueling that the night before and before you head out with what you would do on race day. So the night before, you should be having some carbohydrates in your meal, so rice, pasta, noodles, potatoes, bread, that type of thing. And then before you head out, you need to have some breakfast, so some carbohydrates again. So that would be, white bread with banana and honey, or crumpet or something like that. So you have to fuel your sessions to get the most out of them.
And this doesn't apply just to ultra runners. This is for people doing all sorts of running.
Absolutely.
Or exercise in general. But
Totally,
we'll see a lot of people coming through, I'm just doing 10K or I'm just doing a half marathon. I don't need anything.
Yeah, just half marathon. I
Yeah.
love that. It's huge. Half
When you're
marathon's
talking,
massive.
Yeah, huge for
But
a lot
yes,
of people.
you have to fuel. Absolutely.
Always,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if you go, if anyone has been fortunate enough to come through kind of the ranks through things like the AIS and that type of thing, you won't even be allowed in the session if you haven't fueled properly. They'll send you out. Like, no, you can't come under fueled because you're wasting your time. You're wasting the coach's time. So it's a very
You're not
important.
going to give your best.
No, you're not. What's the purpose of the session, I suppose, is what you come back to.
Yeah.
Whenever you go and do a training session, what's my purpose to this session? Am I building endurance? Am I building threshold? Is it a tempo set? Is it a long run?
Yeah.
There's all different reasons in your training program, and you need to know what your purpose is.
Yeah.
So you have to fuel accordingly.
Yeah.
So one of the other questions that you probably get it a lot in questions from your customers as well, people often talk about kind of the using their fat as fuel, and don't I need to do sessions fasted, and can't I become a fat burner, that type of thing. Do you get asked that a lot?
So much.
Yeah. So what that stemmed from is making people more efficient at using their fat as fuel. And when we say efficient, the efficiency is coming from sparing the glycogen. So do you remember I talked about you've got your stored glycogen, and that's what runs out, and we've got to top that up. When you're doing fasted training, what you're doing is teaching your body to be more efficient at using the glycogen, and it's called glycogen sparing. So it lasts longer over that time frame. Okay. So it absolutely does work. And if you are doing very long distance running, maybe multi-day, things like that, I think it's a really good thing to try and improve on, because what it means then is on race day, there's less risk of you bonking or running out of glycogen completely, because you're more efficient at using what you've got on board.
Yeah.
So it can be of benefit, but what you have to understand is it's not necessarily related to performance.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you go faster. It just means you need to have less carbs coming in. Yeah. Now, for some people, that might be a benefit if they get gastric upset, or, they just really don't enjoy kind of the fueling and they don't really want to run fast, like they're not overly fussed on coming first.
Yeah.
Then absolutely fasted training would be something that might be of interest to them. But if your goal is to run the race as fast as possible, then fasted training's not really going to help you because you should be doing the opposite and training your gut to absorb as much as possible because then you can run
I think
faster.
it's almost like with a lot of people, it becomes, this will sound bad, but almost like ego. I can do a half marathon with no fuel, or I can run this, I can do this. I did this session this morning with nothing, which, okay, but you could do better.
I think that'll change. I think it's changing. Yeah, in kind of my business, I'm seeing a massive shift away from that type of rhetoric, if you like. It's people are now understanding how important it is to fuel properly. Yeah. But some people do kind of, I suppose, think, oh, I'm doing my 20K with that. But unless you're running 20K in an hour, then why would you do that? You will be much better off to fuel the session properly. You'll feel better in the session. You'll run faster. You'll recover better. You'll protect your immune system better. Like there's so many benefits to fueling properly.
And even these guys doing the half marathon an hour, they're fueling.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And a lot.
Kipchoge's probably, I don't know what his stats are, but he's fueling a lot. Yeah.
I think with his sub 2, they really upped his calories.
So someone like him that's really practiced at it, they don't recommend this for most people, but they're up to kind of 100 to 120 grams per hour. It's a lot that most kind of average, weekend warriors cope with about 40 or 50. So he's like double that. So that's what I mentioned before, the same with the Tour de France. I'm into cycling at the moment. So I've gone to the dark side, so I've gone to the triathlon world.
So you're back here.
Yeah, sorry. But they're day in, day out, a bit like a multi-day event, but it's because also they're pushing the pace. Like, I mean, God, how fast does Kipchoge run? I can't even fathom it. But you can't run that fast without fuel. Like it's just not
I can't run that fast anyway.
I think I tried on the treadmill for 1 minute and I couldn't do it.
That's disgustingly quick.
Yes, so running kind of 20K with no fuel, in my opinion, is a little bit silly.
Yeah. Let's take a step back from that 20K with nothing. You have run UTA 4 times. What did you use?
What did I use? So I used a combination of liquid fuel, so a sports drink of sorts, gels and bars. I didn't really use too much other solid foods because I don't digest it very well and I run reasonably fast, so I didn't want to kind of take too much time to eat. But I think the more important point is rather than what fuels you're using, it's about planning what you're doing. So I'm, like most ultra runners, pretty organised and a little bit detail orientated. So I do, and this is what I do for my clients as well. So I do something called a race day plan. And in that plan, I actually write out exactly what I'm going to have each hour. So I use 50 grams of carb an hour for the UTA for that distance, works for me. And so I will write out exactly how much I'm going to get from my liquid fuel, how many gels I need, and write it out so that I know exactly hour 1, this is what I'm having, hour 2, hour 3, hour 4. And then I know exactly what to pack in the drop bags as well. So I would put in the drop bags what I needed for the next leg, for example. So in UTA 100, you need to carry everything for the first 2 legs because you don't get a drop bag till checkpoint 3. So it's actually 3 legs. You have to carry that amount and then you can pick things up in your next 3 checkpoint bags. So writing it out so that you know exactly how you're going to get your 50 grams per hour is really important. It also takes away some of the nerves of the day as well, and it gives
Almost
you a guideline. And look, it doesn't go perfectly to plan on race day. You might, I don't know, kind of space out for a bit and forget to have something, or you don't feel like something, but at least it's there and you're trying to get in your fuel. And I also think it's good to pack a few random items in those drop bags as well. So something that you maybe are craving, so like some chips is popular because they're salty, pretzels, rice cakes and Vegemite, things like that might be appealing, after 10, 12 hours to have something crunchy rather than kind of sweet and gooey and whatever. So, having a race day plan is important. And also then figuring out, okay, if I'm having sports drink, how much are you having? So I think from memory, I used to have 250 ml of the drink per hour. So then I knew I had to have another kind of 4 100 mils from my bladder. So I think I had a 1.5 bladder, so I knew my bladder should last about 3.5 hours, for example. So planning then how far between the legs and where do I need to fill up the bladder, because you don't want to be taking that backpack off if you don't have to. So you need to know, when do I need to fill it, or maybe you might be able to use one of your 500 ml flasks to get you through to the next checkpoint. So all these considerations is exactly what a race day plan is about, and thinking about it before you turn up on the day.
Yeah.
And it's not to say, Seb, there will be people out there who have no plan. They just eat off the aid stations and they completely wing it, and they get through and they have a great day, and good luck to them.
Yeah, well done.
But there's a lot of people that it doesn't work for, and that's what I do. That's why I help the people that maybe need to plan a little bit more, or maybe they don't have iron guts and can have everything. So, and I just think it's such a massive undertaking, all the training, the logistics of everything that you're doing for the UTA, to not spend some time thinking about your nutrition is a bit of a mistake.
Yeah, having that thing, just your nutrition, peace of mind is just so important.
Absolutely, yeah. And even like what you're going to have for dinner the night before, what you're going to have for breakfast, you need to think about where you're staying, what you've got. I remember where I stayed was more like a hotel room. I didn't have a kitchen, so I sound really organised now, but I took a thermos with my dinner in it because I knew what I wanted, and I didn't want to go out to a restaurant and have to fight off 4,000 other runners to get food. So I took it
tempted
with
by
me.
that little steak and
So just thinking about all those things makes a really big difference. And I have had so many people that kind of fall over at the 11th hour, and they go and eat something in a restaurant that they'd never normally eat on the Friday night, and then they regret it. And it's like, what are you doing? Yeah, just think about it and plan it.
Well, I mean, and it's very beneficial having professionals like you in the industry that can shed some light and make this less confusing. I think it's worth definitely giving you a plug, madonnutrition.com.au.
Yes.
Yeah, you've done it 4 times. You know what you're talking about. You've done a lot. You can help a lot of people. So thanks for coming in.
You're welcome. Thank you for
having me. Been a pleasure as always.
Yeah,
I'll talk to you later. See ya.
All right, I'm good on my end. Whenever you guys are ready.
Unreal. Gary, thanks
Seb.
for coming down.
No problems.
Mate, if we were thinking of who we could get to talk about UTA, getting into like the training side of things, approaching the race, you were definitely at the top of that list.
Thank you.
You've run the race a bunch. You've had nearly 250 athletes from over the 12 years compete.
Yeah.
You've got you're a well of knowledge for this. So thanks for coming down.
No worries. Yeah. I've got a nice little black book of coaching.
There we go. I guess where we start is how would you approach something like UTA, whether it's the 22 or the 100? How do we approach the training on that side of things?
You've got to look at with any trail race, you've got to look at the course first up. There's a high percentage of new runners in the UTA that race the 100, the 50, the 22, and of course the 11. And you've got to know where the runner's at, what their strengths are on trail, what their weaknesses are on trail. And a lot of people think they look at it and they say, 16-week program, 4 months, it's 25%, a third of the year, 25% of the year. And it's just like, it's way too much. Yeah. What we do is if a runner is interested in the UTA, it's like, well, how are we just going to train you and you'll go and do a bunch of races over, 6 or 8 months, and then 12 weeks out, 10 to 12 weeks out, depending where you are, it's like that's the training period. That's when we start.
Yeah. And we going straight into mileage, or is this building off of good base fitness for them?
Again, they offer good base fitness. Yeah. A lot of people want to go out there and they start 16 weeks out with other training programs, and they come in, and a high percentage of the UTA resales that you're seeing there, especially the 150, are from these people that started no base from 16 weeks out. They get through, because that's starting, Christmas time when everyone's joyful and relaxed, and it just doesn't happen.
No.
And that, I'll speak frank, that's just you know, from experience.
I guess it's so all-consuming training for something like UTA.
Absolutely.
And you might be physically fit, but you kind of start opting for those out.
Yeah.
Just mentally, everything's just too much, and you're
Correct.
like, I think my knee's sore.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
So I guess there's your benefit of keeping that.
Yeah, correct.
Stress.
And you got to look at each distance. So you've got the 100Ks, which is, you know, it's 4,400 plus
Yeah.
elevation. You've got 5,000 steps of up, over 5,000 up, 5,000 down.
Yeah.
You move on to the 50, it's got 2,400 meters of elevation. In that as well, you've got 4,800 steps up, 4,500 down, then onto the 22, and even the 11. The 11 has something like 2,400 stairs up and down. And you have a look at what people have done in the past, and they'll go and run/walk hills, but they won't do stairs.
Yeah.
And if you're in the 100, the stairs are coming in between around that 60, 65K mark.
Yeah.
You need the strength of
Yeah.
stairs training. So this is where I was saying, 12 weeks out, you've got your runner who's been training, or running for a consistent 8 months of, you'll get him to do some tempo speed stuff on the road. You'll go and get him to run trail every second or third week. You'll throw in some stairs. You'll throw in some sand running and sand dunes, which is good for strength. You just got a all-round training plan, knowing that 12 weeks out, right, they're locking into the UTA because that's what they want to do, and they're ready for the training.
Yeah.
You've got to be ready for the training.
So it is down to that age-old debate of quality versus quantity, and
Correct.
and always quality wins.
Yeah.
Getting people to take that on board is a bit
Yeah.
different, but that quality training program, or that quality training block rather,
Correct.
that's where your ultras.
You've got to be prepared to be able to do the quality training. Okay, which includes quantity, because if you're training for 100, and depending, some people can get away with running 100K 4 days a week, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. So everyone's different, right? And as a coach, you have to adapt to that, but you have to know how to prepare a runner for that as well.
Definitely, it's tough.
Yeah.
So we touched on stairs there. Obviously, UTA, lots of stairs. I would say it's very neglected by most athletes in there.
Correct.
Your approach in regards to that stair training, are you getting your athletes on there a lot?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As important as hill work?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just as important. And where do you bring that stairs training in?
Yeah.
Again, just everyone's individual with the training. Yeah. So it depends where they are within their program and, what they've been ticking off. But for the 50, it's in the first part of the race.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to get your runners on the course and running that first,
and
part.
Hugely beneficial getting on course.
Oh, massively.
It's not like it's some exclusive track. Everyone should be able to get out there.
I kind of have a rule. You've got to get on it a minimum of 3 times.
Short of these, obviously, international athletes, but if you're in Sydney, it's an hour and a half.
Yeah. You can run as many Waba or Stanton or Mandalong streets as you want, or go and run Manly Dam as much as you want.
Not the same.
It doesn't count.
No.
And so in the 100, again, as I mentioned before, you've got of the 5,000 stairs, there's 4,000 of them in the second 50 of the 100. Yeah. So that's when, if you're out training on the course, you got to work out the route, and we do that for all of our runners. And it's like you need to be finishing on at least 2,000, 3,000 stairs.
Yeah.
So it's just, it hurts at the time, but it just all adds that strength into the legs in the overall programming.
Gives me anxiety thinking about 4,000 stairs after.
Does most people,
you know it's coming, but you're like, ugh.
Nelly's Glen. It seemed, Ferber's, I think, is nothing.
Yeah. You can hear everyone.
Yeah, but Nelly's Glen, that's the one most people have a fear about. I say to people running Nelly's Glen, it's only 500 metres of stairs. That's all it is.
Better way to look at it,
Yeah, because I get anxiety over them as well.
Yeah, there's always everyone always talks about further stairs at the end. I mean, it's a tough slog, but it's at the end.
Yeah, correct.
At the top of that,
there's
a nice ice cold beer waiting for you and a seat.
Yep. There is a seat up
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But as I said, with the training program, within that 12 weeks, you've got to have a solid base. Now,
Yep.
whatever that base is, it can be someone off 50 Ks a week, people running 120. Depends. Everyone's got a different goal in the race. You've got to have that base. And then within that 12 weeks, you've got to have hill training, which is like 50 to 60% of your running.
Yeah.
You've got to be running over hills.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's the Blue Mountains.
correct.
It's mountains.
Yep. And you've got to get on the course a
Yeah.
minimum of 3 times. And you need to be training stairs.
Yeah.
They're the 3. And
Yeah.
if my weakness on trail is single trail. So I spend a lot of time on single trail to improve.
Yeah.
Okay. Open fire trail is my
Yeah, you
gun.
love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Get onto the technical, right? There's a lot of people faster than me, but
Yeah.
we then work out what the weaknesses are with those runners. A lot of people try to avoid their weakness.
Yeah.
Nah, spend more time on it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Get better at it.
Yeah.
Like,
Turn it into a
because
strength.
yeah,
Yeah.
come race day, it's then actually easy to
Yeah.
run through.
And then on race day, we still want to play to our strengths. Like for you,
Yeah.
worth noting, you're doing
Yeah.
UCA 100 this year. We all got
Look out, guys.
Yeah, exactly. But you enjoying that fire trail, I'm sure we're going to see you moving there.
Yeah.
Like that's where you're going to
Don't give out my
yeah.
secrets. But look, with my runners, when whatever trail race they're in, it's like I know their strengths, and it's
Yeah.
like this is where you should be
Yeah, okay.
moving.
Yeah.
Right, this is your patient stage.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like it's that patient stage to, okay, just got to be patient here. Can switch off, just enjoy it, because I know when I get to my strength, okay,
Yeah.
I'm back into it, and I'm moving.
Okay. So that comes down into again, that course specific training.
Yeah,
So we should know how much of that race is fire trail, road, and single track, and train accordingly.
correct.
But then if our weakness is technical or whatever, we pay emphasis on that, or do we just still
Absolutely,
give
absolutely.
it the same
So
as the others?
if you're training for the 100, 45% of your training should be on single track. And
Yeah.
then you've got the other 55%, which is open fire trail on road.
Yeah,
In the 22, it's single trail.
yeah. 2021 new course.
Yep.
A lot more single trail.
Correct.
Looks interesting.
Yeah, I think it was 87%.
Yeah.
So
And
you've
it
got
used
to
to be not much.
23.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's reversed.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Should be interesting.
It'll be good.
Yeah.
It'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of touched on there with when you work with your athletes, you like to have their kind of play out their strengths. So this will come into like a full on race plan.
Yeah.
This is like as important as your training, right? Like getting
Absolutely.
getting your day to that your day on, even if it's a piece of paper, like your day on as a plan.
Yeah. This isn't a 10K race, guys. This is anything from, depending where you are, 10 hours to 27 hours if it's 100, or 4.5 hours to 8 hours, 9 hours if it's the 50K. You have to have a race plan, because at some point things are going to turn to, I won't say that word, but it could get rough.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to handle that and know what to do, and your crew need to know what to do as well. So you've got to be all over your race plan, know where you want to be, roughly where you want to be at each stage. If it's not going to plan, kind of all you got to do is just, have some mental strengths in there. It's like, I'll mention Joey Ward from Manly Beach Running Club. He has a toolbox that he pulls stuff out of that uses on the day. Everyone should have their own mental toolbox.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got your race plan, you've got your toolbox there. Right. If it's not going to plan, all right, how are you going to get through? What do I need to do to adjust to get myself back on track?
And that's a lot of responsibility, obviously on the athlete, but on the crew as well.
Yeah.
You want to be very particular with your crew.
Yeah.
Because you will hate them on the day.
Oh.
You love to hate them. It's one of those like
some people love them. Don't ask my friends what I'm like to crew for.
You want to be. It's going to test a lot of friendships.
Yeah. Look, my suggestion to everyone out there, you've got to sit down with your crew about 4 weeks out and show them, this is how I'm racing.
Yeah.
This is what I want in the aid stations. You've got to have a time factor as well. Like, you've got 3 to 4 checkpoints. So if you're in each one for 4 to 5 minutes, that's 20 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're going for a silver buckle sub 14, that's a long time.
Yep.
So you've got to be efficient, get in there. Your pit crew have got to know, what's happening, and if your crew want to know how to, service the engine or service the car, just go and watch a Formula One, right? It's like everyone knows what they're doing. Everyone has a role. Just got to make sure it happens. And you've also got to understand your runner as well. Like if they're suffering, you've got to know how to deal with them. And if you don't, okay, ask them in your meeting 4 weeks out. All right, if you're going through crap, how are we going to do it? What's the best way?
What's the safe word? It's interesting when people often put their hand up to crew, not knowing what to expect.
Yeah, I'll give you a great story. There's this girl that I trained. So the year before she came to me, she started. She ran the UTA 100 with a friend, and she said, "I'll run it with you all the way." Anyway, her friend got to 78 Ks, had enough, and the crew of like, "Yep, okay, we're going home." And this girl Jane was like, "No, but I want to finish. I know I've run with her, but I want to finish." And they're like, "No, we were only here for you, for her. We're going home. We're driving back to Sydney. So you either come with us or..." It's like,
far out.
Yeah, I know.
It's full on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't know what to do there.
I don't think they spoke for about 3 or 4 months.
No,
but they're okay now. Yeah.
Is it worth when you're coming into something like UTA 100 or even UTA 50? Is it worth? Obviously, we want to be goal driven and have our goal at the end of the day. But like, should we focus on time or should we just focus on getting the job done?
Getting the job done.
Yeah.
And this comes back to the beginning, how I say, you've got a base, you've had, done whatever, and you get to 12 weeks out, and you've ticked off. We always say, if you tick off 85 to 90% of your program, and you're standing on the start line, there's no niggles, there's no injuries, there's no health issues, you're ready.
Yeah.
Right. You have to back that training.
Yeah.
You've got to have belief in that training, right? We kind of say take the watch off. You can have it sitting there in the background, right? But you've trained for this event, right? If you've had a coach and you've done everything right, or that 85 to 90% right, just get out there and run and enjoy it, because your training, okay, has got you to the start line. The race is actually the fun part. The race is the end of the adventure.
Yeah,
right? It's like you're out there, you're running with people, you're in the Blue Mountains, okay,
amazing event,
going along, and it's like you've just got to switch off and run and know, again, back to your race plan. Okay, this bit I've got to, I've got 10 Ks along Narrow Neck where I've just got to push a little bit hard, but then I've got some, 3 or 4 Ks of, single trail, that I can just switch off and cruise again, mental break, and then bang, back into it. So, if you... It sounds easy, right? And it should be easy because it's like 12 weeks of training. Know your course. Like I can pretty well go through each section of the course and break up the single trail to the fire trail to the hills to the stairs, because I've trained people for it for 12 years. I've ran it so many times with them. You know the course. You just, and you just get out there, switch off, run, back yourself.
Enjoy the day.
When it gets tough, you just get tough and keep going. It's simple.
Yeah, it's sad seeing so many people put so much pressure on themselves for this day, and then they might be just outside that silver buckle, so they're I'm out, I'm done. It's not worth it.
It does, and I can understand it. Like a lot of people put that 12 months in and getting themselves ready. I had 2 guys in 2017, 1407 and 1408. And then the next year, one of them came back, was much better condition, and then cooked his own meal the night before and everything like that, and woke up at 2:30 a.m. with diarrhea. Still ran it, but not well. It was like 15 and a half hours. So, it's anything can happen.
It's the nature of ultra running,
Yeah,
right? Like,
absolutely.
you can train forever.
Yeah,
Just make the most of the day.
yeah.
Just be,
And he did.
yeah.
He did. He
wicked.
was. He
That's
he
so
knew
good.
he was gone.
Yeah.
Right, but it was just like, well, I'm here. I'm still
Yeah.
going to finish it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's to you people that we get coming through, it's something that we always try and like bring home is, hey, just make the most of it. Like,
Yeah.
just be thankful that you can run. Obviously, last year no running at all, so
Yeah.
thankful where we're at now, and
Yeah.
just enjoy the day. It's a beautiful weekend in the mountains.
Yeah.
There's thousands of people.
yeah.
Just have fun.
We put the coaching side for us, getting people to do what they need to do, is the easy side. Especially if you know your runner.
Yeah.
And it's, the programs are tailored to their strengths and
Yeah.
weaknesses. That's probably 30, 40%. The other 60, 70% is what's happening
Yeah.
in here.
Yeah.
And, everyone has rubbish happening in their lives at a certain stage, and things come up. And as a coach, you've got to be able to understand what they're going through and mentally help them prepare for race day.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest part of a coach, I think, for the UTA, races like UTA.
Yeah.
It's like the mindset, because
Yeah,
you can do all the training you want, but if your mind's not there and it's doubting,
Yeah.
it's going to be a hard day.
So what that saying goes, ultra running's 90% mental, 50% physical.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good one. I
Absolutely.
think you told me that actually. Obviously, all this amazing information you give it to us, it definitely seems like, and I'm sure you'll say yes, it's beneficial to have a coach,
Absolutely.
100%, and
Yeah.
that's not biased. That
Yeah.
is, you people happily pay ridiculous things for ridiculous things.
Yeah.
But something like UTA 100 or 50 or even the 22, like it can make a good event great.
Yeah.
You're just better prepared for it.
Correct.
And especially someone like yourself that is so, in touch with that running community and that whole event, and that course backwards.
Yeah.
Let's get into let's get into that course specific. Well, I guess we'll start with the 100.
Absolutely.
Let's
Let's
get
go.
play.
So you kind of start off and you've got 6Ks, 7Ks of road. So it's a good time. If you're a front runner, get out there, get moving, up with the front, of the pack. If you're like the silver buckle people, or, looking at 17 to 20 hours, you just get into your groove, like onto the road. It's like good chance to warm up, get moving. You got like 3Ks out, 3K, which is up, then 3Ks downhill, and then you're down further onto the landslide.
Yep.
Which for a lot of people, they get into it and it's a Congo line, but that's a good time to just like switch off and enjoy it. Get through up to Narrows Neck. So by the time you get to Narrows Neck, that's a 11Ks, which is, the road component and the really technical landslide. And you got 10Ks to Taros Ladder, and that's runnable. And most people should be able to run that.
Beautiful.
At that time
the
of
best.
morning.
Yeah.
The clouds in the valley on the
it's so
right.
nice.
It's beautiful. And the fire's gone through there. The regrowth is absolutely stunning. And then so you got that 10Ks to just run, and you should be into your groove by then. And some people will be like running it all the way. Some will be running the flat downhill hiking, but it's the time to move.
Yeah.
Like don't waste the time, like, stopping, taking photos or anything. That's the time to actually keep moving. It's the perfect time. You get the taros down, and then you've got 2 to 3Ks, again, technical single trail, with just kind of like you're almost climbing again on this single trail, and then you've got about a K downhill, which then opens up onto the wide fire trail, and you've got like 7 to 8, 9Ks of just beautiful downhill running into Dumfries, first aid station, main aid station, where you can refuel and all of that, and then it's out to the
in and out, right? In and out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Don't waste time. Dumfries should be in, fill your water bottles up, bang, if you need to go to the toilet, whatever, but in and out. My number one goal for my race is every aid station under a minute.
Okay, wow,
It's like you have to. If you're going for a certain thing, that's
sorry to interrupt, but especially if you're out there for that, 15, 20 hours, that 20-minute sit can quickly turn into that 40-minute seat. And
Absolutely.
And that just,
and it's like, we're doing it. And hang on, it was, my brakes at the aid stations.
Yeah.
So you come out of Dumfries and you've got Iron Pot, which is the most beautiful part of the race. It's on sacred Aboriginal land. Yeah. It's tough. It's like that up and down as well. So you just get through it and you just enjoy it. And then you come back out onto the open fire trail. You got a nice, it's about a 1,500 meter climb, like 1.5K climb that's challenging. And you get to the top of that, and then you got like 6-7 Ks down into aid station 4, which is the first one that you're going to see your crew. So it's something to look forward to, but it's another chance to just allow the legs to run it. Everyone should be like running that section because it's downhill all the way.
Free speed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lean forward and let nature just take your way. In and out of the aid station, you start to climb up Nellies. So you got Nellies Glen Road, where, sub 14 guys, silver buckle guys, you should be running that. There should be no hiking, even 15-hour guys. It's runnable till you get to the sign, which is about 2 Ks, 1,500 meters. And then you start getting into narrow track and then the rocky running through the streams. Once you get to the narrow stuff, you just got to think it's going to take, front runners probably 14, 15 minutes to get up there, half an hour, 45 for other people. If you're using poles on those, they come out, they help, enormously on that part. But it's just a section to go, well, everyone's doing it. I'm doing it, so I'm just going to get up to it. When you get to that first step, it's about 580 meters to the top. And you come out and then you've got another 3-4 Ks of single trail again. And that bit's tough. A lot of people find that bit a little tough, where it's like, because it's, again, some steep little uphills. You come out onto an open road, a couple of Ks from the aquatic centre, and there's a couple of, good little road climbs into that. And you get into the aquatic centre, that's always packed and full and a bit of a buzz, and it's, it is welcoming, and it's like, maybe I can spend a little bit more time here, but nah, keep moving, keep going, like get in, get out, and then you're coming out onto the 50K course, so you're through some single trail onto some road, you're running around Three Sisters, down the stairs, heading on the single trail, and this is usually for everyone the slowest part of the course. So from the aquatic centre to Gordon's Rock 4, it's usually Fairmont Resort is usually the slowest part for everybody in that race, because it's single trail, it's technical, and you've got 2,500 stairs to get up and down.
Sore.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
it's good to note that everyone's gonna be in the same box there.
Absolutely,
but you're not on your own.
The beauty of that section, it's like 10 Ks, right? Yeah. And everyone's in the same boat. Yeah. And you get to Fairmont, and then you just got this beautiful trail that goes down to Wentworth Falls. You get onto Tablelands, like up onto the trail, and then you've got like 9 to 10 Ks of just free fall because you're heading down on the road into Queen Vic checkpoint, which is one of the best like checkpoints on the course. Yeah. And from there, it's down to Jemison Creek, right? And you get to Jemison Creek, and it's like, I've got 14 Ks to go. Yeah. That's it. And is it tough from there for the 100 guys? Oh, yeah, absolutely it is. But you're on that wide fire trail, and it's like each run. So you go to that first, read it that many times. It's like, first climb past Jemison Creek is about 1K. And then you got nice downhill. And then you got about a 600 meter climb. Then it's a nice downhill, right? And then it's about 1,200 meters. Nice downhill into the clearing, right? Where there's a emergency drinks there. And then from there, I'm pretty sure that's the toughest climb. It's about 2.5 Ks heading up towards the sewerage works. Yep. And that one you've just got to grind out, and it's the last tough climb, okay, of that section.
Yep.
And you come through to the sewage works, and yeah, that's single trail. It's muddy. It's like a few crossings, and but again, everyone's in that situation. And then once you get through to there, you're just on Federal Pass, right? And it's that last 5Ks, and like
you can hear it. You can hear the finish line.
You can smell it. Like
it's there.
It's there.
You
It's
can grab
like absolutely. And Furbar, don't worry about Furbar. You've covered all of those steps for the 150K guys. All of those steps you've covered before. There's only 954 of them.
Yeah.
And like people are up there cheering. It's like, that's the part you should enjoy.
Yeah. You can almost just use everyone else's energy
Yeah,
to get you
absolutely. It's like
you can get there with 0 in the tank.
Perfect.
And exactly.
Yeah.
And you've got everyone else who's going to get you to the top of the stairs. So don't worry about
it's
that.
a reverse of 6 foot. We're 6 foot. You're looking down in the valley and everyone's cheering. This one, you're just looking up and everyone's cheering. It's fine.
You're gonna, from there, you're going to get you get this high dropout rate, checkpoint 5.
Yeah.
What are you going to say to these people?
All right. Well, let's take a step back. Yeah. Okay. So I always look at your front runners have their plan. They know where they want to be. Yeah. All right. There's always the silver buckle guys, the sub 14 hours. It's like, where do I need to be? All right. If you've done all your training, you've everything like that. It's like, if you're at the aquatic center, okay, within 7 hours, you should get yourself under. You should get yourself that silver buckle.
Yeah.
Because it's 57 Ks to there. You've only got 43. You've got another 7 hours to get there. And it should be, it's like that mongrel mode. It's like, right, I'm here at 6.5, 7 hours. I have enough time to cover 43 kilometers.
Yeah.
So it's like, you've got to move. Yeah. And everyone there, anyone that you're running with, right, you should be saying, come on, we're going silver buckle today. Like, and that's where all those people you don't know out on the course, okay, you use them to your advantage, okay, especially if you're going through a rough patch mentally. It's like, this guy's with me. He's also after silver buckle. You after silver buckle? Yeah, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's work. So it's 7 hours aquatic center. That's where you should be. Okay. Like 6.5, 7 hours. Perfect. And then you've got the runners that are like, after that 17 to 18 hours, right? And then, they need to be at the aquatic center by about 3:30 because the toughest part of the course is from the aquatic center through to Fairmont Resort, right? In the dark, it is the slowest. Most people are averaging 5 to 6 kilometers per hour, right? And there's a lot of negative talk happening within their head because it's hard. Single trail, dark, up and down, heaps of stairs, right? They pop out of Fairmont and they like, that was hard. And it is hard, right? But the best thing is, right, you've just covered 10Ks of probably the hardest part of the course.
Yeah.
Right? You're through the hard part. So it should be not, oh, I'm buggered, I'm slow. It should be, I've just covered the hardest part of the course.
Good to go. I'm
good to go. Yeah. And again, all those people around you, anyone that's going, oh, this is hard. It's like, yeah, but we get through this 10K and we're good.
Yeah.
At Fairmont, we're 66, 34 Ks to go.
Yeah.
We've done that before.
Yeah.
Okay. Queen Vic, 22. Right. But for those that are doing the 17, 18 hours, if you can get to the aquatic center by 3:30, right? And then just get in, get out. It's like 2 minutes, pack everything, bang, out the door. You will cover that section before the sun goes down, or the sun will be coming down at Fairmont Resort, which is absolutely beautiful to see. You can stop, take a photo, smile, take a breather, and keep going. But the most important part is understanding where the toughest parts of that course is, and that is the slowest for every runner. For the front runners, you go and look at like Brendan Davies when he runs it. The slowest part is aquatic center, to Fairmont Resort. Everyone, that is the slowest part. It's the toughest part. It is the highest section where people pull out, right? And if you ask people, why did you pull out? They go, it was just hard. So it wasn't their body. It wasn't that they weren't capable. It's the mind had defeated the body. Yeah. Just look at it as like, this is the hardest part. I get through this. I've got this.
Stretch.
I'm home.
Yeah.
I've got my silver or my bronze buckle. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that gets us through the 150. We're again, 2021, we got a course change for the 21.
Yep.
A lot more single trail.
Absolutely. Yep.
Do you want to run through that a little bit?
Yeah, it's got to be patient because it's
Be a lot more single file.
a lot more single file. So
Make friends with whoever's in front of you.
absolutely. A lot of courtesy,
Yeah.
no shoving past. Look, it's going to be an interesting race.
Yeah.
Because completely different to what we're used to. If you're after a time, if you're chasing a time, chasing a place, okay, you've got to start fast. You've just got to get out and get into a position onto the single trail.
Yep.
And there'll be people past you, you'll be passing people as well. But it's just 22 Ks of single trail with the stairs. The vert is not as bad as the old 22, right? But you've got to be comfortable with running single trail. And my advice is, if you're running, choose your sections. So you've got to know the course where you can pass and where you can take over, right? But don't just force your way through, right? There's we call it passing right. Someone will let you through. And if someone calls to you passing right, let them just you don't need to stop. You can just move over to the side and, get through.
Yep.
So,
Courtesy on the trails.
absolutely.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the same with the 11K as well.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all single trail. You've got the stairs as well. I think there's more stairs in the 11 than there is the 22. So that is an advantage.
Yeah.
Right. But it's the same thing. If you're going for time or position, get off to a fast start. You've just got to be ready to go. And again, same courtesy style thing. If you're passing on right, you got clear space, push.
Yeah. And then hopefully, I guess next year we'll be back into the old 22 course.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that is a good course. Let's go through that one.
That is, okay. So the
Pace
22
for life.
Yeah, it is. I almost said the pace checkpoint. Queen. So the 22 course, 8Ks downhill, 14Ks uphill, 7Ks single. I think it's one of the best trail races in Australia because you get to showcase everything. If you're there to race, use that first 8Ks. And that means going down fast, which means it comes into your training, whoever your coach is, right? You've got to have those quads trained, but you've got to be able to run those hills as well. And previously, touched on how long those hills are, 1K, 600 meters, 700 meters long. You got one that's 2Ks. So it's, a fair bit, but if you break it down, right, you get to the top, bang, fly down that hill. Just, it's opportunity to run a fast 22 trail race.
You see some boys flying down that course.
It's an amazing course. It's absolutely amazing course. So, and there's a high number of people that cover that course in under 3 hours, which I think is amazing. And funny enough, most people who run the 22 are sore, longer than the 50K people. Just because it is that type of course. So if you're racing the 22, right, go and find yourself a coach who knows the course and train how you're going to run it. Because it's like, all that down, all that up.
And that plays back into your course specific training.
Absolutely.
Work those downhills.
Yeah.
That's, for the most part, very neglected, I think, with all the
Absolutely.
training. And you see it always at 22, like guys that are so undertrained for downhill running bomb that downhill, and all that training for uphill is wasted.
It's gone.
You're dead when you get to the top. When you get to the bottom, sorry.
I had a guy who he ended up running to 2:30, but
Still
he was
lightning quick.
I think he was in 8th position at the bottom, and he realised like halfway down, he's like, I'm going too fast. Oh, well, keep going. And he got to the first hill.
I guess that's
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comes into race day.
Absolutely. But that, you've got to, if you're training for that event, right, it's like go to Queen Vic, right? A lot of people do it, just like do a bit of a warm up, 3 or 4 Ks, right? And then get onto it, smash it down, run an 8K PB,
Yeah.
right? And then turn around and run back up.
Yeah.
Okay, just get yourself up. Yeah, will it hurt? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it will condition you for the race.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we've done our 10-12 week training program. We're getting closer to race date now. That 2 weeks in terms of your load, we want to be obviously tapering now. What do you get your athletes to, or what do you do with this?
We, again, depending on the athlete, 'cause some might have a longer tapering down than others. Some runners will, they just need that week. So it is very individual.
Yeah. Benefits
get
of having a coach.
Correct. I kind of work off that last 10 days.
Yep.
I think is that time to switch off, 10 to 14 days. And it's no fast stuff, no hills, no sessions. It's just like getting out the door, moving. You can still move every day, but it's reducing, from if you're doing an hour, you bring it down to 40, 10 days out, and you get to 7 days out. And I'm usually every second day, or some people still like to run every day. So they'll go and run for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You're not going to lose anything.
No.
Your body actually needs, it actually appreciates, that 7 to 10 days to repair. Everything's all right. A lot of people go through, they'll get to their, they'll go and run on the Saturday before and do an easy 10. They're like, oh, my legs feel rubbish, I just feel tired. It's called tapering.
Yeah.
It's part of what it is.
Yeah.
I kind of get nervous if people are 7 days out and they're like, I feel awesome, I'm ready to go. It's like, well, should we be racing today? You know, but it's very individual, right? But you do need to with your coach, or if you don't have a coach, you've got to be sensible. There's nothing new. I seen on a post, someone asked this exact question, what should I do? And someone just put up on a post, do some light swimming or, a light cycle. And it's like, but what if this person's never swum? What if they've never done that? Don't go onto forums. Don't go onto Strava and look what everyone else is doing. It's like part of your plan, 12 weeks out. It's like, what am I going to do, last 7 to 10 days?
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, though. Our fitness is in 2 week intervals. You're going to hold that fitness for 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That last 2 weeks, there's nothing beneficial of going. Yeah. We have a saying, it's everywhere. You're better off going in 5% underdone than 1% overdone. Yeah. Right. But if you've ticked off that 85 to 90%, right? No niggles, no injuries, right? If you don't taper, you're just going to put yourself at a higher risk of being overtrained or injured or being injured. So it's just not worth it. Chill out. I know a lot of people can't, hence why they've got to run still every day, but just go and run for 20 minutes. Go for a walk. Take the dog for a walk, okay? No gym, no anything that's going to affect their legs. Cut all that. I have a rule with people who do strength within trail running, which is, I think, is really, really important. But it's that last 2 or 3 weeks, no strength. Just start allowing your body, to recover. So you get to race day, you're sharp, you're ready to go. Have everything planned. You shouldn't be running around on Friday night packing your pack or what am I going to have for dinner or everything like that. You should be able to jump in that car Thursday or Friday. Your pack's ready to go. You know what you're having for dinner. You've booked your restaurant or you've got your own food. You've booked in to pick up all of your race kit and bib. You're going to spend 30 minutes around. You want to be in your hotel at 7:30, chilled out. Yeah. Because you're up, you're not going to get much sleep. Yeah. Right? That night. No one does. You're up at 3:30, 4:30. So just chill. Have everything planned. Be in your hotel room or your Airbnb by 7:30, feet up, reading a magazine. And, so many people putting so much energy into my pack. I haven't, that should all be done in the week before leading up. So you just take one suitcase up, everything's in there, you're ready to go. Exciting stuff.
Yeah. The most important sleep, is 2 and 3 nights out. Yeah. Okay. Put it in your training. That's when you want to get your best sleep. 2 to 3 nights out.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, fair. You're not going to sleep the next night, the first night. Sorry.
Most don't.
Nah.
Unless you have 2 glasses of wine. No.
What about post race? Sorry, what's our running look like? Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Again, look, I tell my runners to go away for 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to see them running. They can go and ride a bike. They can go and swim. They can go and walk and ride horses or dirt bike or whatever. When you've been spent 12 weeks down to 10 weeks and then that last 6 weeks of intense training, it's not, and then you race. It's physically taken it out of you and it's mentally taken out of you.
Yeah.
Right. You need rest.
Mm-hmm.
Your mind needs to rest. Your body needs to rest. You can still go and move. You don't have to lay on the couch and do nothing, right? But my best runners, right, that I've worked with previously and work with currently, they will take 2 to 3 weeks off to 4 weeks off. No running.
Yeah.
Right? Let the body fully recover. When they come back, those first couple of runs, it's like, but then they just get back into the groove.
No one's impressed by you run the next day. No one.
There's a high rate of injuries come out of these type of events because UTA is a tough race.
Yeah.
Because people are back running 7 days later or 10 days later.
Yeah.
Right? No. Don't. Take 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
Go and book a holiday, get massages.
Anything that you wanted to do in
Absolutely.
the middle of your training block.
Absolutely. Just go and do it. There's some other coaches I think has a valid sum go for every 10Ks you run, you have 1 day off. So that brings it around the 10 days.
Yeah.
So that I think that's a valid.
Even from you look at just in terms of loading on the body.
Yeah.
We could say on average, one step, you're about 2.5 times your body weight on a trail.
Yeah.
100 Ks.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Let your body recover.
You've got to. You've got to. Like I personally myself, it usually takes from these type of events, it takes me a month.
Yeah.
So, and that's just my body.
Yeah.
Put it through the ringer. Can I run? Yeah, I can go and run. But am I running efficiently? Am I getting anything out of it? Actually, I'm not because it's muscles, it's tendons, it's ligaments, it's the mind, it's your gut that's been so much has been put through the ringer in your training and the racing. Just let your body rest.
It's
all
so
right.
important.
Yep.
One of the crew we have working here, Michaela, when she ran Coast to Cozzy, she listens to her body. She's really good at this.
You have to.
She's still, I'm not racing.
You have to.
That was in November.
Yeah. One of the best 24-hour ultra runners in the country, Kai Bretts, he usually has in total off 3 months.
Yeah, wow.
So it's like 3 months off, 9 months running. If you look at Kilian, for example, usually spends 6 to 7 months racing, right? And then the other months, right, he's cross-country skiing. Completely different sport. He's active, right? But it's a completely different sport. It's like we can learn. David Radisha, 800-meter runner, takes 3 months off, puts on 7 kilos, right? Takes him about 6 weeks to lose that, and then he's back into his groove. If they can do it, we can do it.
Yeah. Well, unreal. I think we've covered about everything.
Hope so.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure.
Yep.
Okay. Hopefully everyone already at this stage, this close to UTA, has got their training down pat. But next year there's always another race, and I'm sure.
Absolutely, and everyone out there that listens to this that's made it right through to the credits. So
could be longer.
Laughing at my own jokes. Sorry. So remember, it's like don't get sucked into a 16-week program or anything like that. Go and find someone that can work with you and go, okay, what do you enjoy? What do you love? All right. And can create 4, 5, 6 week blocks of fun stuff that you just work on things. And, you kind of work for 4, have 2 weeks off. And it's it's steps. So by the time you get to UTA 12 weeks out, 2022, everything's ready. Yeah. Right. You need a 10 to 12 week program.
Yeah.
And we're the people to guide you through it.
Mate, that's unreal. Well, pleasure as always, Gary.
Thanks, Seb.
I'll
really
talk to you
enjoyed
later,
it.
mate.
Yeah, mate. Cheers.
Bye.